Welcome home. It's September 20th, and the episode title is Digital Love Hate. Than Gibson and DMing the World Press are in the spotlight, and we talked about the lure of Shadowdark to the publisher. Shadowdark, says Team Darkspace, which is a game Than's making, is perfect for running one-shots. I don't know about you, but I've certainly seen the rise of one-shots over the last, say, 10 years. Once, they would have been a rare thing, a one-off, but now they're way more common, and they seem to be a recognition of the world we live in. However, this podcast leans towards escapism, so let's not dwell too much on the world we live in. If you are a reader of the Geek Native blog, thank you, and you might have noticed that a rosette sometimes appears in the corner of the screen. This only happens on the desktop because mobile screens are too precious. Designed by Bronwyn, the rosette is our thank you and our pitch as an indie news blog. We are not asking for subscriptions. Patrons can vote and help steer the content, but there's nothing behind the paywall. Yes, we have advertisers, but they cannot buy our opinions. In today's media landscape, I think this makes us a rare creature, and so the rosette is there to note that. If you visit the blog, especially if you let the ads run, you are one of the heroes. Creature Curation is an indie publisher also showing us a way to go against the powers that be. Firstly, they have bought their own printing press and is good enough to do zine-style games. Secondly, they have bought their own RPG back in-house, taking it back from the old publisher, which means that they can now print Vast Grim. Thirdly, they're taking the next in the Vast Grim series, Escaping Stasis, to Kickstarter themselves. Go Brian and team, stick it to the man, and good luck. Let's stick with publishing, because digital platform Neon Ichiban is having a moment. They have already signed Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Vault and Kodasha, and this week they have added Dynamite and Titan Comics. Neon Ichiban is founded by some former Comixology executives, and it comes at a time when that old platform has essentially vanished into the Amazon ecosystem, apparently offering readers very little in the way of an advantage. It also comes during the Diamond Comics crisis, so it makes sense that comic book makers are looking to diversify their channels. Speaking of Diamond Comics, in the US, the courts have instructed Ad Populum to halt sales of items found in their newly acquired warehouses until the matter is resolved. And in Britain, there's been a management buyout of Diamond Comics UK, where the company had a much better reputation. And now, of course, that team has to step up and sort things out. Another United States of America legal decision, which made the news this week, care of Nintendo, is that the Pokemon stewards have managed to get a patent on summoning monsters in computer games, or just summoning in computer games. I kid you not. How did Nintendo do this, given that summoning clearly wasn't invented by them? Some experts have suggested they hid the nature of their patent request in technobabble. For example, a key part of the patent basically talks about game saves, but it says non-transitory computer-readable storage medium having stored therein a game program. If you think computers aren't coming to tabletop RPGs, then you might be in for a surprise. Hasbro boss Chris Cox already is on the record saying that his gaming buddies use AI. Now, Quest Portal, our virtual tabletop, has announced a powerful AI assistant GM coming to their platform that can spin up NPCs and encounters. When the press release for that landed on my desk, I wrote back to say, "Gee, this is a hot topic. Would they be prepared to answer some robust questions?" Team Quest Portal were, and so I have an interview up on Geek Native. And I think they make some good points. Perhaps the most controversial of which is that human players already use platforms like Pinterest to steal creative assets for games. At their heart, though, I don't think Quest Portal is big tech bro coming to control the hobby. Somebody else might be, but I think Quest Portal are doing what they think is cool, what might help, and for all I know, they might be right. Geek Native has previously published posts about young mums using AIs to help GM games for their young kids, because they're out of time, but not out of love for their daughter. On the other hand, Asmodee has published survey results from over 8,000 people, and the results are staggering. This research says that 1 in 4 people manage to play board games once a week, and this figure is catching up with computer games. Asmodee's statistics suggest that escapism is a significant reason, especially in the USA, for playing board games. That, sorry to say, is less staggering. If the data is on the money and people are increasingly putting value in face-to-face time away from the computer screen, then maybe Chris Cox is wrong and the future of D&D isn't digital. In another nod to escapism, HalloweenCostumes.com also released a costume survey which shows that more people are going to decorate the outside of their homes and have more costumes this year, even though we don't have more money. Few people said they would spend more, but most people planned to do more. And this is entirely possible because we, when we try, are imaginative creatures. But this is perhaps not the costume news that HalloweenCostumes.com wanted. A company famous for dressing up locations is Meow Wolf, and if you have a good memory, you might recall that they announced a TT RPG project with Exalted Funeral called Tavers. Well, I was able to interview the co-founder of Exalted Funeral and a senior creative director at Meow Wolf. The two were a bit coy, but this TTRPG can be tied to the physical art installation of Meow Wolf, and if you can't get to one, then maybe you have to make it yourself. That's a turn up for Team Theatre of the Mind, so I'm curious to see how this game looks when it's published. That, by the way, is slated for next spring. For Your Radar is one of my favourite events of the year. That's Scotland Loves Anime, which is coming back to Edinburgh for a week, staying at the Picture House Cameo, but also showing one feature in the newly opened Film House. This is an event in which I will stay up late to review the new anime, which are often premieres and have been picked for sponsors in the past. If you do sponsor, then you get a thank you in each review, an ad space and a video. So if you do want to woo anime fans, get in touch. There are 2 bundles to tell you about, and the first is at the Bundle of Holding for Raging Swans, Lair Economicum. As the name suggests, the deal is ideal if you want to up your Lair game. The second is a Super Bundle at Humble, and it's from Goodman Games, who have a host of X-Crawl to offer. Thanks for listening, take care, stay safe, and do not let Muzan and the demons get you.